Copyright 2014, Math, Diagnostics, and Intervention, all rights reserved. We're going to learn how to solve inequalities in one variable. And if you follow these 6 steps, you should have very little trouble with solving inequalities in one variable. The first thing we want to do with all inequalities is turn the inequality into an equation. Then we want to solve the equation. The third thing we want to do is plot the solution to the equation on the number line with either an open or closed circle. Then we want to pick a number that is not the solution and plug that number into the original inequality. Shade the part of the correct part of the number line, and then we want to write the answer. So let's take a look at an inequality and see how this works. So here's an inequality, and our first step is to turn the inequality into an equation. So I'm going to make that negative 3x plus 1 equals 16. And then step 2 says to solve the equation. We subtract 1 from both sides. Then we divide both sides by negative 3. And we get x is equal to negative 5. Now let's take a look at our list again. So right now we have successfully turned the inequality into an equation, and we have solved the equation. Step 3 says we need to plot the solution to the equation on the number line with either an open or a closed circle. Since our original inequality has a strictly greater than or strictly less than sign in the original, that means we're going to plot an open circle at our solution point. So our solution point is negative 5, so we will plot an open circle at negative 5. This indicates that negative 5 is not part of the solution to our inequality. Now let's take a look at the next step. Step 4 says pick a number that is not the solution and plug the number into the original inequality. So we're going to take a number. Let's take the number 3. 3 is not part of the solution, so we can plug that successfully into our inequality. So I'm going to write negative 3, and then I'm going to plug in 3 plus 1, and is that going to be greater than 16? Negative 9 plus 1, following the order of operations, is greater than 16. Negative 8 is greater than 16. That is false, which means that when we plug in 3, we do not get a true answer to our inequality. It also means that all of the answers, all of these numbers over here, to the right of our negative 5, none of those numbers will work. So if none of those numbers work, that means all of the numbers on the other side will work. So I shade the region that works, and that's what our step says when we say shade the correct part of the number line. We've now shaded the correct part of the number line. We can check that real fast. Let's go ahead and check that, and let's see what happens when we plug in negative 7. I've got negative 3 times negative 7 plus 1. Is that greater than 16? I've got 21 plus 1 greater than 16, and I get 22 is greater than 16, and that does work. So now the only thing left to do is to write the final answer to the inequality, and remembering that as long as the number comes first, or excuse me, the variable comes first, the direction of the graph and the direction that the inequality points will be the same. And since we had strictly a not or equal to situation in our original inequality, we have strictly a not equal to situation in our final answer. So our final answer is x is less than negative 5. Let's take a look at another example. Let's consider a situation where we have negative 2 times 4x plus 6. And let's say we want to make that less than or equal to negative 3 times, let's make it 2x plus 8. Our first step is to turn our inequality into an equation, and we will do that by putting an equal sign in there. So I've got plus 6 equals negative 3 times 2x plus 8. Remembering our operations for solving equations, we're going to distribute, and that's going to be equal to negative 6x minus 24. Getting rid of the variable on one side of our equation, I will add 6x to both sides, and I get negative 2x minus 12, that's equal to negative 24. Add 12 to both sides, and we get negative 2x equals negative 12, divided by negative 2, and we get x is equal to 6. Now we're going to pick a, we've got to graph that number, we've got to plot that number on our number line, and this time we're going to plot it with a closed circle because we have an or equal to as part of our original inequality. That means that our endpoint, in this case 6, is part of the solution. We're going to pick a number on one side or the other of our original inequality and plot that in to see if it works. Let's plot in the point 0. 0 is usually a nice, easy number to work with. Let's see what happens when we plug 0 in. We get negative 2 times 4 times 0 plus 6, and we're going to see if that is in fact less than or equal to negative 3 times 2 times 0 plus 8. So we get negative 2 times 6. Is that less than or equal to negative 3 times 8? And we get negative 12 is less than or equal to negative 24. That was not true. So when we plugged in 0, it did not work. So once again, we are going to shade the other part of our number line. So we're going to shade this part over here because that's the part that will work. Remembering that if 0 didn't work, none of the numbers over here are going to work. So we're going to shade the other part of our number line, and then remembering that as long as the variable comes first, in this case x, and we have 6, as long as the variable is first, the direction of the graph and the direction of the inequality will be the same. So in this case, x is greater than or equal to 6. As long as you follow these 6 steps and practice a lot, you should have very little difficulty solving inequalities in one variable. Good luck.